ahead and get started. Really quick before I turn things over to Derek and Andy, I just want to note that we do have an additional presentation today at 2 o'clock, 2 to 2:30. So if you're able to stay, please do. If you're not able to stay, we do record all of these sessions and put on our YouTube channel, which are usually available the following Monday. So you'll be able to catch up if you're not able to watch it today. And then we always save questions for the end of each presentation. So please put your questions into the Q&A. Don't use the chat. We'll use the chat just for any technical problems that you're having. But if you have a question, put it in the Q&A. And at the end of each presentation, the presenters will address those. And then lastly, if you were not able to make it to our One Cool Thing session a couple weeks ago, you still have time to review those recordings on YouTube. We're going to post the link in the chat for you right now. And in the YouTube description is the voting form where you can vote. So next week is actually our last session of this Canvas Day Summer Series. So next week at the end of the session, we will be announcing the winner of the One Cool Thing. So if you haven't done so, please go ahead and vote. But that's the end of the announcement. So I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to Derek and Andy to discuss archiving.
All right, excellent. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Derek Gittler, and I'm a project manager for Canvas. You also might know me from Turnitin, VoiceThread, or Zoom. All of those are a distinct possibility. And for this presentation today, I'll be working with Andy Fisher and Bill Werbican, who are on our Canvas development team. Canvas archiving is a feature of Canvas that was asked for and requested during the transition from Angel a few years before I started with the Canvas project. If you're familiar with that or used that in the past, Canvas archiving is a bit different because Canvas is a completely different platform. And the purpose of archiving also a little bit different than what we had with Canvas, but hopefully I can clear some of those questions up for you today after the presentation. First of all, I want to go over an outline of what I'm covering today, specifically what archiving is designed to do and what it is not designed to do. Then the two reasons why we archive, both for the policy reasons and for the practicalities of managing a system such as Canvas with as many courses that we have at Penn State. Next, I'm going to go over what is archived and what is not archived from Canvas. When does this occur? What happens during each archiving process? How do you opt out or restore courses that have been archived? And finally, the several resources that I will cite during the presentation. I have a slide at the end with active links, and I'll distribute a copy of this presentation afterwards. You can always click on those and get any information that you need from them. And as always, if you ever have any questions about archiving or any other Canvas feature, you can always email canvas@psu.edu to contact our help desk with Canvas support specialists, or for help on your own, we have many, many knowledge base articles at help.psu.edu. So the first question, what is archiving designed to do and what is it not designed to do? First of all, it is designed most importantly and primarily to adhere to university policy. What we try to do with, what we want to do with archiving is adhere to the university gradebook retention policy. The Canvas team has responsibility for that, and the gradebook retention policy is for 5 years. So what we're looking for is to design an archiving system that will retain grades for 5 years. Now notice I'm saying grades because that is the most important thing. It's the grade book and not necessarily for course content, but I will get to your course content in a little bit as well. Also, this is designed for practicality. We want to balance the usability of Canvas, the speed of using it, versus the problem of accessing the data. And what I mean by that is you need to have access to your data, but also if everyone had everything that was available to them, made available to them, the interface of Canvas has a tendency to slow down greatly. This may not be an issue for individuals who have only a few courses, but people like instructional designers, staff assistants who may be put into many courses and many sections across Canvas, Canvas can actually come to a screeching halt for them, making it absolutely impossible to use. Archiving is not designed for long-term or permanent storage of your course material. That is not the purpose of it. Although because we have designed it to keep your gradebooks, your course material will be there for a 5-year period, which coincides with the gradebook retention policy. Ultimately, your data is your data, which you're responsible for, just like your students need to keep their documents safe, their submissions safe. It's the same thing for instructors. You're ultimately responsible for the storage of your data, and there are several options for doing that. The recommended method of storing your course data is in a master course as a template. Now, master courses are archived as our regular courses. When it happens every year, and I'll go over specifically how to do that in a little bit. But when master courses are up for archival, they must be opted out every single year. The best way, the absolute best way for long-term storage is for you to export your data and keep it yourself, along with a backup plan. And that 3-2-1 is usually the recommended way of backing up data. Have 3 copies of your data available, usually on 2 different formats, like a removable storage drive, cloud storage, something like that, 2 different formats, and one of them keep them off-site. There are many different options such as Google Drive, OneDrive, file servers that your department may provide, even a local copy on your machines at home, but do have a backup plan on different formats in different places. That's the best way to make sure you always have your data available to you. All right, why do we archive? As I said, first and foremost, it's to adhere to university policy, and according to AD 35, University Archives and Records Management, regardless of format, university records have a lifespan. That means no matter what kind of records that we are keeping, they are not around forever. There is a time limit to keeping all kinds of data, and the data that we are responsible for keeping is the gradebook. So what we have designed archiving to do is work on a timeline, and I'll go over the timeline in more detail in the when section a little bit later, but to give you an idea of what it looks like, we keep everything in Canvas available on your dashboard for 1 year, and then we move it into the archive. Then we move it into the archive later on, where you're able to self-restore when you need a particular course. The archival timeline was designed for grade appeals, mostly to adhere with corrected and deferred grades according to faculty senate policies. So that's why we leave it visible, untouched on your Canvas dashboard for the first year, since we know most corrected grades, deferred grades will happen soon after a course ends. And then this period, years 2, 3, 4, and 5 are designed to make sure that the grade books are available according to the general retention schedule. Now, why do we archive? For the practicalities, as I mentioned before, the Canvas page is going to get cluttered. There are all the Lion Path courses, all the manually created courses, all the master courses, all the sandboxes are going to appear in Canvas and on your dashboards. Keeping those up there will slow down Canvas and might cause even Canvas not to load at all. In several extreme cases, our development team has had to go in and create custom scripts to remove courses for certain people whose dashboards simply became unusable. So from a practical standpoint, this is some sort of archival method is necessary because there is no vendor provided solution for this. What I'm explaining today is something that Bill, Andy, their team has developed over the past several years. This is completely a Penn State creation to make sure that Penn State's instance of Canvas is running as well as it can. As for the items that are archived and what is not archived, archived, that is your course data, the course data within Canvas, which is part of the vendor's Canvas database, including your enrollments, grades, discussions, and quizzes. What's in that database is designed and designated by the vendor. Over time, this may change, though probably not greatly, but at this time, these are the items that are archived when we do the archival process. Things that are not archived, any kind of integrations, LTIs or plugins. Items linked to or stored on other websites or platforms. For example, if you reference a scholarly article on another website, a New York Times article or something like that, those items are not archived. The link that you've written down in your course would be, but the actual material linked to is not. Also, items on other storage platforms like Box, Kaltura, OneDrive, any other third-party platforms, those are not archived. Those will remain on those particular platforms and not within your Canvas archive itself. Excuse me. So when does this happen? This happens 3 times per year, per calendar year, and I'm starting with May for a particular reason here. We will archive at the end of every semester, counting all the separate summer semesters as one. Archiving occurs in May, sometime in May, usually from the 15th to the 20th, you can usually bet on for each of these. In May, we will archive Lion Path courses. September, we again also archive Lion Path courses. In January, we archive Lion Path courses in addition to all master courses, all manual courses, and all sandboxes. Now, specifically, when this archiving occurs, what is it that we are archiving? We are archiving all courses. Let's take September, for example, September 2020. We'll be archiving all Lion Path courses from September 2018 and previous. Again, remember that we want everything to remain on the Canvas dashboard for at least visible for at least 1 year. And after that, we will be moving that to an archive. Leaving things on the dashboard for 1 year allows any grade disputes to be settled with ease. You don't need to request or go look for old courses that have been archived. We're leaving those available for you. So the Lion Path archiving will happen in May, September, and January. The special one is in January, when we'll be archiving all master, all manual courses, and all sandboxes in addition to the Lion Path courses. This is significant. Like I said previously, that all, where was it? Like I said before, the master courses, manual courses, and sandboxes are archived every year. This does not matter when a master, manual, or sandbox was created. It will be archived in January each year and every year. If you wish to opt out of that archival process, it must be opted out each and every year. I do receive a lot of questions as, can I opt out a course permanently? Unfortunately, no, you cannot. It must be opted out every single year. The good thing through all this is every time something is archived, you always have the option to restore it yourself with our archival tool. And I'll go over that in a little bit here. So even if something is archived, at the absolute very worst, it might not be available for a day, day and a half, or something like that when the archiving process happens, but it can always be restored to you should you need it. But the way the process is designed and the way the technology works, we can't help but have to archive master, manual, and sandboxes all together, all at once, every single year. Then that happens in January. Now, the actual archiving process itself. What happens during archiving? We will send out an announcement at least 2 weeks prior to the start of the archiving process. That doesn't mean the actual archiving, it's the entire archiving process. Normally, we've been doing this for about a year, and we usually, so far, have been sending out announcements about a month before this starts. We're committing to at least 2 weeks, but so far we've been able to make our announcements and our timings known a whole month before this even starts. What that announcement will include is an option, announces when you will be able to go in and individually select individual courses to opt out of the archiving process, and it will also announce the date that the archiving will start. Those are 2 separate dates. You will have one date when you can actually go in and select courses to be opted out of the archiving process. Then a few weeks later, the archiving will happen. Opting out is on a course-by-course basis. And that means you can't just make a blanket statement, hey, I want to opt out of everything. You have to go in and opt out on a course-by-course basis. And the way courses are opted out, it is by course, not by people. So if you have several instructors and one person opts out of archiving, it is opted out for all teacher roles for that particular course. So if you're teaching with someone else and they opt out, but you don't want to, it's opted out. That's just the way technically it has to be structured. You will not be able to restore your courses during archiving. And like I said, that only takes probably about 2 days max, maybe even less when we start archiving once the process gets a bit more mature and we're not catching up with old archivals that we still need to do a few of that go back several years. But count on a day, day and a half where there's or 2 days where there's no restoration possible. That is handled, and the opting out and the restoration courses occurs by using the Course Archive Manager tool. That is on the left-hand side of your Canvas menu. Right at the bottom, we have a tool called the Course Archive Manager that handles everything for you. And this is a picture right here of what the Course Archive Manager looks like. You will have the, as instructors, you have the option to extend the archival, and this will opt you out of the current archiving only. The course you opt out of will be flagged again in the next cycle, meaning that if you opt a Lion Path course out in May, it will be flagged again for archiving the next September. If you opt out in May 2020, it will be flagged again for September 2020. After the archive process is finished, that is when you can look down here for your previous archive courses and restore them if necessary. It is restored for the instructors and the admins only. The students are not restored to the course. You can if that's absolutely needed, but that has to be a special request. So you don't have to worry about students being re-added to a course should you want the course restored. That will not happen. It's just the instructors that are restored. And finally, everything that I've mentioned that has a reference, I've referenced here. There's the Canvas archive policy in a complete and very detailed format on our blog. I've referenced AD 35 that the university records have a timeline. The general retention schedule for grades, the faculty senate policies 4830 and 4840 that we have designed the 1 year display of courses on your dashboard for, as well as 3 very popular knowledge base articles: how to opt out of course archiving, how to self-restore the course once it is archived, and one for making those master courses. We have a knowledge base article specifically designed for that. Again, as I stated at the beginning, if you ever have any questions about anything Canvas related, archiving or otherwise, you can always reach us at canvas@psu.edu, or if you wish to look through our documentation, that is all available at the Penn State IT Knowledge Base, help.psu.edu. Thank you, and I will now look through the questions.
Hey, Derek, I was starting to go through some of the questions that were out there.
Yeah.
And I if I didn't answer those sufficiently, please just those people let me know, and I can give some more details. I think one of the questions was I didn't have a great way to answer this in text, but it was mainly about, I'm not sure if it's about Canvas or university policy on data retention. So okay. This is the question of, I may have missed this, but must exams and assignments be held for 5 years? If you're talking about Canvas, there is a gradebook retention policy that goes out to 5 years, so we handle that. Now, if this is outside of Canvas, that guidance would probably still fit, but it is best if you have questions to take a look at that policy, AD 35, and get your questions answered that way, because we're not the experts in the policy. We took the policy and applied it to Canvas, but maybe not to your specific use case of what data you may have outside of Canvas.
Yep. And Vicky asks, is there any data loss during the process of restoring a course? Oh, Andy, I'd like to answer this question live. There we are. Go for that, Andy.
Yeah, sure. If you want to take any of the last ones. So that there is no data loss. So really what archiving is, it's not anything that's really getting archived. We're just hiding it from you. We just take you out of the course. and then bringing the course back, we put you back into it. Okay, so for those couple of years, that's really what it is. There is no data loss. Things don't go away. Now there are situations where the application may change underneath you, right? That I think we've all been hearing the rumors about new quizzes coming out for Canvas in several years. So in several years, the old quizzes tool may not work and you may not be able to get to things that are in there. So there are things in the application that will change that will make that data difficult to get to, but the data is not going away. It's still in the application. Everything should be there for you. This is very different than the old Angel way where we actually pulled the course out and then put it back in. In this case, the course isn't going out at all. We're leaving it in the system and we're just removing the enrollments.
All right. Pride's archived in the same way as courses. I believe it works the exact same way, doesn't it, Andy? Technically, you would know the better answer for that.
Yes, yeah, it's the same way. We just remove kind of the higher level permission, the users like the Pride admins. We remove those from the course and we set some end dates on them, and then we bring it back the same way. We do not ask 3 times a year on Prides. It's just a yearly thing. So that's the part. That's really the only part that's different with a Pride.
Yeah. And Susan asked, where do you go to see archived courses in Canvas? Never mind, she found it. But for other people who might not know, it is something I wanted to show as well. So let me reshare my screen here. Here on your Canvas dashboard, this is what you see when you sign in. Over here on the right-hand side, at the very bottom is the Course Archive Manager. What you'll see here is slightly different from what I showed in the slide deck. The slide deck had the good view of things that are archived and not archived, and I don't have those kinds of things because I don't teach courses. But that is down here, 2 old sandboxes that I have, things that were previously archived. And what I was referring to that looks slightly different, we added in a whole bunch more clarification, as well as links to opting out and those self-restoring articles in our knowledge base. We have that here, how to opt out of course of archiving, with some graphics for you, as well as how to self-restore courses and the steps for doing that. You also might need to find your courses in a particular way if you've changed the name, and we have those instructions right here for you on how to do that. And that's it. Any other questions? If not, one final time, if you ever have any questions, concerns about archiving or anything Canvas at all, canvas@psu.edu is always your channel to our dedicated support team. And then if it's even more complicated and the deep policy or otherwise question, myself, Bill, Andy, somewhere on the team will be available to answer that as well. So that's canvas@psu.edu and our help articles at help.psu.edu. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thanks, Derek. Thanks, Andy. We appreciate you taking time to do that. So